In today's 2-minute tutorial, we're going to be going over 10 essential equalization tips that all producers should know. Number 1, filtering out unwanted frequencies in almost all of your instruments. Sometimes in our recordings, we capture artifacts or sounds in the microphone that are really, really low that we can't even hear. And sometimes our instruments have information in the bottom end that we don't necessarily need to actually have the sound we're trying to create. When we combine all these informations from all these different instruments, it can create a low end that's very muddy and very hard to mix. So we want to be filtering out the low end of those. Number 2, less is sometimes more. If you remove too much of the signal, you can start to take away the important frequencies or the power of the instrument that you're trying to EQ. Sometimes just a subtle EQing can do wonders. Number 3, don't EQ something without having an idea of why you're EQing it. Don't just start EQing different parts of the sound because it looks like there's frequencies building up in there. Use your ears and always trust your ears first, and make sure you're only EQing something that is going to be beneficial to your mix, not just EQing it for the sake of EQing it. Number 4, cutting is almost always better than boosting. When you're cutting, you're creating space for the rest of the instruments to fit into your mix. When you're boosting, sometimes you can color the instruments a little bit more than you'd like to, and you can start to create bunching up frequencies, and it can start to sound a little bit muddy. Number 5, boost wide and subtle, and cut sharp and narrow. And when we're cutting, we want to be removing competing or unwanted frequencies, which is usually very precise, and we don't want to be taking out too much information. Number 6, don't obsess over the little details. Sometimes we're used to doing certain practices a certain way, but at the end of the day, the consumer or the person listening to the music is only going to hear what you put out there. Even if it isn't what you're used to when you're doing your practice, as long as it sounds good, follow those rules. Number 7, EQ in both context of the mix and in solo, so you can have the best reference possible. Number 8, EQ around important elements. Your most important elements should be the ones that are coming through the mix the most. EQ instruments to fit around those important elements. Number 9, sweep frequencies to find problem areas. And number 10, EQ sends and returns. If you're putting a lot of instruments into a send and maybe there's a reverb or delay on it, you should make sure that you're EQing out the unnecessary frequencies as that as well, so that you don't also increase the amount of muddiness or deception in a mix. If you like this 2-minute tutorial, make sure to subscribe to the channel, and if you'd like a free production drum course, check the description for a link.